Welcome into Rover Sports, guys. What an exciting coaching off season. Sometimes there's certain storylines like Matt Luke to Ole Miss where you'll talk about the storyline for 3 to 4 minutes and you'll kind of just run out of things to kind of mention about, Matt Luke to Ole Miss. It's just not that it's not that layered in terms of the analysis. But the Tennessee story and just, thinking about Tennessee and the whole situation, I think the University of Tennessee, like guys like Clay Travis, guys like John Reed, Volunteer Nation, I think they do an unbelievable job of covering their program. And I just think it's a fascinating case study into, everything involved with college football, everything involved with the sport of football, how much the people care about football in the Volunteer State. And this whole story is incredibly, I think, fascinating. And I hope one day that we can even get like a documentary on the time when John Curry touched down in Ohio, to Schiano signing the papers, to then John Reed, Clay Travis, senators in the Tennessee government rebelling against the hire of Greg Schiano. But I'm going to lay out the two sides of the argument, and I'm going to tell you why these sides exist. I'm going to go with the side of the national media first. So the national media, and I've actually had a chance, to actually, attend a couple of, these media circuits, and I've watched, the media days, SEC media days. And in the SEC and, as a sports journalist, if you're a newspaper writer, if you're a writer at Yahoo or Fox Sports or whatever, your one goal in your life for you to do your job effectively is you have to make relationships, and you have to keep the people that feed you the storylines, you have to keep them happy. And you have to have friends in the business to continue to refer you, to continue to get you paid, that will back you up if you say something erroneous in a story, if you make a mistake, if there's a controversy, especially in 2017 with Twitter and everything. There's going to be controversies. People are going to dislike you. You're going to have, mobs of people even dislike you in this landscape. Everybody has a voice now. That's just a reality of the internet that we live in now. So Dan Wolken, Dan Wetzel, these guys, this is my honest opinion. I don't really know them well. I think they're decent people. Greg Schiano in the Big Ten Conference and Ohio State, that's a huge brand. And you don't want to alienate yourself from Greg Schiano. And you don't want to, alienate yourself from the story. Okay? I will admit that the Yahoo writers, in one way, have a valid point. The whole Jerry Sandusky issue with this, Greg Schiano guy, okay, it might not have happened. It might have happened. It might not have happened. I'm a guy personally believes in second chances, and for guys like, of course, Sandusky, and if Art Briles knew, there's no second chances for those erroneous acts. But for Greg Schiano, young guy at the time, I think covering up, he said he didn't cover up. It's a he said sort of deal. He said this, the other side said that. We don't exactly know. Am I going to feel sympathy for Greg Schiano if he didn't do anything wrong, and if this whole thing is a blown up story? And could it have gotten out of control? Can it have gotten out of control? That's the side that the media is saying. To a certain degree, that's very possible, okay? Just from the Sandusky storyline, that's really that's really the controversial part is, this guy, this assistant coach at Penn State said that Schiano saw Sandusky and the actions, and Schiano denied the actions in his allegation, okay? This Irish, McCleskey guy or something, all right? So I do feel some sympathy for Greg Schiano if he gets blackballed over this. Now, here's the thing about Schiano. He's at Ohio State. He's going to get another job offer. If he wanted a MAC job or a non-Power 5, he could get that in a second. In fact, Lane Kiffin needed to do that. Lane Kiffin needed to go that route, especially because Lane Kiffin, like Greg Schiano, has failed everywhere. And Greg Schiano, it's not like Greg Schiano is a guy that's never gotten a chance. He's not like Bryce Petty of the NFL, who never has gotten a chance to start a football game. Greg Schiano had the Buccaneers gig. He had the Rutgers gig. He had the NFL gig. This is what I'm going to say about Schiano. When Rutgers was in 2007, they played the Big East, which was Connecticut football, Syracuse football, that really is irrelevant since, McNabb went there. Syracuse, Connecticut, Temple. The only good school in the Big East was maybe West Virginia. Pitt was in the Big East as well. Just thinking back to the basketball days, Connecticut. The Big East, Louisville was in that conference. So, looking back to the old Big East, and in that time was a completely different layout in the old Big East. It was a weak conference compared to the Big Ten right now, and that's why Rutgers has struggled. They've also had, if you look at their athletic director and the things that have gone on there, they had a basketball coach that, got involved with, not being mature enough with his basketball players, and a temperamental coach at the time in Mike Rice. Now we'll have to see how Mike Rice has grown from those experiences, but he wasn't punished for tossing and pegging kids with basketballs, okay? So that's why the Rutgers job, that's why it deteriorated, because of poor management, okay? But it was a better job at that time in the Big East, in a much easier conference. So that's why Schiano was successful. Yes, he recruited well. Ray Rice, tremendous player. Sanu, really good college player. A couple of other NFL wide receivers, some corners, linebackers, good players. And New Jersey is a really good state for recruiting. I mean, Wayne Hills is incredible, and Don Bosco is very good too. This is what I'm going to go say, though, about Greg Schiano, and this is my point. He was awful with Tampa Bay. He has a track record of being nasty towards players. Tennessee at this time needs a unifier in the program. Greg Schiano is nothing but words. He's never achieved anything. Unlike Lane Kiffin, he's not coming off a heat wave where he's taken a program like Lane Kiffin at FAU that has never achieved anything and won a 9-win season. And Lane Kiffin has reinvented the way that he runs offense. He's a pro-style guy. He did some crazy up-tempo stuff at Bama, and then he infused something that he's never done before, and he infused an Art Briles system. He hired Art Briles' son, Kendall, to now go from the Florida Atlantic, and that's why the guy is different, because he's doing something that's very unique. He at Florida Atlantic, if you actually would watch their games, he runs pro-style, and he runs up-tempo in the same kind of breath. And it's really fun to watch. It's really cool. And I think that teams are going to struggle defending it. Even at Tennessee with Lane Kiffin, he wasn't awful. He beat the crap out of Georgia, South Carolina. He developed a quarterback at that time that wasn't even that skilled. So other than being immature, Lane Kiffin still had football intelligence, unlike, Schiano, maybe defensively in a couple of elks, but he hasn't even done that well at Ohio State. John Currie did a disservice to Tennessee fans. He held the gun up to Tennessee, and he said to you, he held Tennessee fans at gunpoint, and this is where you heard the national media's perspective. First of all, the national media has overstepped its bounds in a couple of instances. One, they pretend to know the Tennessee fan base better than the actual fan base. And then two, they're defending that Greg Schiano's a good hire, a decent hire, and that Tennessee, quote, needs that hire. That Tennessee is an 8-4 program. That the expectations are too damn high. Who would want the job? Who would want the job after they rejected Greg Schiano. Who would want it? Well, listen up. I feel like they're idiotic in this way. They're idiots. If the Tennessee fans didn't speak up, Greg Schiano would have that job. So the job now is unattractive, but instead of guaranteeing yourself to lose and go into an even deeper hole where for 3 to 4 years your program would essentially die, the Tennessee fans prevented the program from dying. Any option was better than Schiano. That's the death of the program, Greg Schiano. That's what the national media doesn't understand. The guy destroys everything he touches. He started out at Rutgers. He burned every relationship at Rutgers. He played favorites on that football team. He went to the Tampa Bay Bucks. He threw his quarterback under the bus. In the victory formation, he ordered his players to injure and attack the other players during an innocent kneel down. He would have destroyed the Tennessee program. And the fans of Tennessee, you know what they said is that we're tired of Butch Jones. We're tired of 8, 7-win seasons. And for the national media to say that you guys have lopsided expectations other than going 8-4 and listening to a bunch of bullshit that Coach Jones says every day about brick by brick, life championships, a lifetime championship rep, all that bullshit. Tennessee has facilities at 3 hours from Charlotte, Atlanta, and Nashville, Neyland, Peyton Manning, national championships. Clemson hasn't won since 1980. And now Dabo went there, and suddenly that's a expected freaking power. Clemson was dog shit for the 90s and the 2000s. But once if all of them were like, you know what? Let's just, try to go 8-4. Let's try to, get second in the ACC. Win a bowl game here or there at 9-10 wins. What a loser's mentality from the national media. You will never be special in your freaking life if you never plan on being the best and being elite and rising above mediocrity. And the national media says to the Tennessee fans, you guys are mediocre. You guys are a 9-4, 8-4 team. Shut the hell up. Shut the F up and be satisfied with 8 wins. And shut up and stay in the corner and let Florida, Georgia, and Alabama roll your ass every year and spin you around, kick you in the dirt, throw dirt on your damn head. You can get out and peek out from your grave when you play South Carolina and the school in Nashville and the freaking school in Lexington that has a football program and the Kentucky football program. But when you go to Athens or you go to Gainesville, you get the living shit kicked out of you and you shut the hell up because you haven't been relevant in 20 years. So shut the heck up, get your 68, get your 500 Big East coach, former NFL coach that coached in the NFL that now is at Ohio State, and you shut the hell up and you accept this hire, or you just plain out. You can insult him for football reasons, but you just say, okay, Greg, come in, Greg. Freaking bury the program deeper. Freaking tie a bag to the head and jump in the river. That's what Greg Schiano would have done. And now they're saying the Tennessee job is unattractive. You're literally dead. Tennessee football was like a prisoner. It was like a prisoner, okay, that is going that is going to die, that is literally breathing, like gasping for air. And the national media says, "Oh my God, they're making the job unattractive." Greg Schiano would have killed the Tennessee football program. John Currie caused the Tennessee fans to go in emergency mode. The Tennessee fans had 2 hours to come up with whatever possible to save their football program from stooping to even lower and taking even a step back more, like going down into to the ground more. I'm sorry to use so many deaf analogies. Listen, the national media, the job's unattractive. You scared off Greg Schiano. The Jerry Sandusky thing was done out of an emergency situation. The Tennessee fans that were there saying he's a rape enabler and whatever, there is a chance, objectively, okay, that Greg Schiano, I don't think that he supports rape. And he might have had nothing to do with Penn State. Let's get that clear. But the fact that the Tennessee fans were unhappy with this hot-headed, tempered coach, a guy who's burned every bridge, a guy that has been awful for the last decade, and half of his players hate the guy. How in any way does that make what John Currie did acceptable? And the fact that the national media is controlling the expectations of a program. When you let national media determine your expectations of a program, you're dead. And that's why MAC, whatever kinds of programs, you'll never be successful. If you let other people determine your expectations, you're never going to get anywhere in your life. You're going to look at all your negatives, and you're just going to listen to what people say. If your friends tell you you can't date that hot girl, you're a 6, you're an ugly guy, you're an ugly mother effer. You can't date that hot chick. Get the fuck out of here, you ugly motherfucker. If they said that to you, like the national media is telling the Tennessee fans, and you go and you say, you know what, you're right, I'll settle into this pack of girls. I can't get that job. It's too high for, my background, for where my family's from or whatever. It's sad. It's a crime because you are letting other people determine your fate, and you do not have the inner belief to create your own elite expectation to rise above and be a 1%er. And the Tennessee fans yesterday, they did not refuse to go gently into that good night. Amazing. 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 The Tennessee fans want a coach that has prowess, that has potential, that is a great representative, that is a guy that gets along with his players, that can reunite a fragile fan base, not a hot-headed, selfish guy that bombed every place he's been. Mike Norvell, in fairness to Norvell, I know Butch came from a MAC program or Cincinnati. Mike Norvell is a head coach that has had explosive offense. He's one of the friendliest, youngest guys in college football. People love Mike Norvell. The thing about, this is what's going to happen, Tennessee fans, all right? The thing about, listen, I could probably go on for 5 freaking hours about this video because this is weight on my mind. It's the craziest sports story of our lifetime. Not of our lifetime. But it's one of the craziest college coaching stories you're probably ever going to hear. I don't think there'll be another fan base that shoots down a hire, ever. Okay? The Greg Schiano thing and the Penn State thing, I think for me it's all about football. And if the Tennessee fans would have stayed quiet, the Penn State thing too is a concern. It just adds on. It hurts. It hurts you as a candidate, okay? It does. No matter what, the optics, it's going to hurt. It's not a risk worth taking, okay? Understandable. He's a terrible, terrible football coach. Your program would have died. Football is incredibly important. As fans, college football is about fans. College football is about us. Without us, the fans, I know the players are important. I know that they have, I know that they work harder to achieve where they're at. I know that they have God-given skills that a lot of fans probably will never have. But the fans, they're what makes the program go. And John Currie should be a servant of fans of the University of the State of Tennessee. He should be. And that's important to remember and to think about, okay? But what I was going to say is that the Greg Schiano move, it's that, you know, it would have been such an awful hire that the program would have died. From a football perspective, it's a football perspective. And a couple of media, listen, the whole Sandusky tying that in, that's an emergency move. That's like a move that the fan base said, okay, you know why the fan base said that? You know why? It was a very emergency move. The rape situation. They needed everything they could get. And there's some people that are just analyzing this from a Jerry Sandusky and a rape perspective. I'm definitely not going to be that person. So the national media has some credence there. I'm not ready. I'm not a huge black and white. There's certainly a lot of gray areas. You got to think a little bit about what the other side. I discredit a lot of what the national media said in this segment, but about the whole Sandusky thing, I do feel sympathy for Greg Schiano in a lot of ways, especially the fact that he might not have done anything wrong. So I am going to say that piece. But the fact that Tennessee rejected Greg Schiano, in my book, it's a job well done for the Tennessee program. And as a fan, I would have done the same things. I haven't been very vocal about the Sandusky thing. It's a plot. It's a piece of the situation, a very important piece. We're not going to go here, and I'm not going to tell you on this video the obvious, is that the Penn State situation was the most horrible situation maybe in the sports landscape we've ever seen, and the horrible acts of Jerry Sandusky. You guys know that. The child molested. You guys know the seriousness of that. But the Greg Schiano and the tie-in is very murky. It's very unclear. You don't have consistent information. It's he said, she said. We don't have consistency in that situation. But to think that Tennessee should let the national media tell you guys what to think, when Clemson and all these other dumbass programs, that's really my extreme beef. And for them to say that the job is now unattractive when the fucking job would have gotten taken anyway. Like, literally, that was an emergency situation that John Currie put the state under yesterday, an emergency. Instead of checking with, Peyton Manning, T. Martin, people at Tennessee, instead of checking with former players, instead of checking with the people that actually pay and give a fuck about the program, and the people that have stayed in Neyland Stadium, and the people that have been in the Volunteer State for their whole fucking life, like, BVD and Volunteer Roadshow, people that have died and bled for the program. He just comes in from Manhattan, Kansas, fires Frank Martin, and then he just decides to go rogue and just turn his back in a blind eye to everybody in the state and not collaborate at all with the state. And that's why it's very tough as a fan, because you just don't have control. So, so much more. I hope some of you guys stayed for the podcast. It's a long-ass freaking podcast. It's not 10 minutes long. I hope you guys stayed for the podcast. It's such a long video. I'm just going to leave it like this in this format. You guys can cut it up, do whatever you want with it. I hope some of y'all enjoyed it. Tonight I got Jet Central. We're going to dive deep into this, repeat a lot of the shit, talk about all the coaching, and wild. So, alrighty. See y'all.